and to the analysis of Shields and Brooks, syndicated columnist Mark Shields, New York Times columnist David Brooks. David, how does the president's speech look to you 24 hours later?
Anguished ambivalence.
Anguished ambivalence.
As usual.
Yeah.
It was a very good speech, very forceful. I was glad he actually had a plan. You contrast it to the last stimulus for health care where he let Congress do a plan, so it was leading from the front. He also, as he says, quite accurately, took ideas from the center. The payroll tax cut, all that stuff, the infrastructure spending, that is Republican and Democratic plans. There's a Georgia Works element where you get unemployment insurance to give people some access to the labor market. These are all very good ideas. The third thing you got to be aware of is we are in serious peril of a double-dip recession. And so all these are in favor of what he said. The doubts I have, one is, will he pay for it? And he sort of was ambiguous about how aggressive he was going to be in doing that.
He said it was paid for.
He said it was paid for. He said he would announce a plan. But is he actually going to announce a plan or tell the Congress they should come up with a plan? A little ambiguity there. And then finally, just the effectiveness of the thing. Infrastructure spending. We might be entering a double dip in recession right now. Infrastructure spending will take a long time to get going. Payroll tax cuts. When people are nervous, they save their money. Is that really going to get spent? So, I see pros and cons, but on the whole, I think it's a pretty good package for people in the middle and even a lot of Republicans, and they should walk with the president another few steps to see if they can make it a reality.
What did you think of the speech, Mark?
It was fascinating political theater to me in the sense that ordinarily when Barack Obama has spoken to the Congress or congressional group, he's been cool and the passion has been in the crowd. And I found him to be passionate this time and a certain coolness. I think it would have been, I thought it was a good speech. I thought it would have been a better speech if he'd given it when he was at 68% approval rather than 43% approval. But at the same time, I agree with David's points that he put the Republicans very much squarely on the defensive because these are ideas that Republicans, a number of Republicans, have not only supported in the past, but have advocated and urged upon him.
Do you think the tone of urgency worked? I mean, did he have it? He's always been said that he has always been said that he doesn't have that when he talks.
Well, I mean, I think there's two questions. I mean, if repetition is the first law of learning, as Susan Page told us in USA today, 37 times in a 34-minute speech he said jobs. So that kind of got across as to what really was driving him. And the fact that even though it isn't reduced to legislative form yet, that he does have a specific plan and not something that you folks are going to work out, I think is a real plus, Jim. The reality is to me about it is that the electorate at large wanted him to reach out with bipartisan and less partisan approach. He certainly did that. And his own base wanted him to show more passion and intensity, and
you think
he did that. So I think in that sense it worked politically. The big question remains, will he follow through? I mean, I remember in healthcare, he was going to take it to the country, go to every hamlet, and convince people after the signing of the healthcare bill. He never did it. I mean, other things intruded. I mean, he wasn't just sitting there playing golf. There were other events. But the question I think that a lot of Democrats have is he did it in Richmond today, but is he going to continue on this?
You think that's important, David? That he really has to go to the country with this or forget it?
Well, I think he went to the country on health care. I think he can go to the country. He's facing a tough public. A lot of Americans have, given up on him, but a lot of Americans have given up on government. When he came into office, he said, I want to restore some faith in government. But if you look at the polling, do you trust government? It has fallen in the last 2 years, continuing really 2 decades of fall, and now it's down to 17%. So he's facing a very skeptical public. He's facing a public which is, to my mind, insanely skeptical about stimulus packages in general. The vast, vast, vast majority of people say the first stimulus did nothing. No, I didn't like that bill, but it must have done something.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. So there are a lot of lists of things it did that people don't read. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of skepticism out there. And I do think, again, it's important, especially in Congress, for him to come back next week with a surprising way to pay for it. He's going to raise taxes on the rich. That's fine. He believes in that. But one of the things that struck me about the speech last night was the extra emphasis on the Medicare reform. And he said some people in my party don't agree with that, but we have to do it. And if there's a strong element of that, well, then that raises some eyebrows. Oh, he's trying something new. So that would be very impressive.
Back to Mark's point about repetition. He didn't say it 37 times, but he said, pass it, pass it, pass it. I didn't count them. But
16.
16?
16 times.
16
yeah,
times.
one form, either pass it or you should pass it. Yeah.
Will they pass it?
They could pass part of it. I mean, as Eric Cantor said, there's a lot. If you went back to the debate, the stimulus debate first time when they had the first stimulus bill, there were a lot of Republicans saying, this is a terrible bill. What he should do is cut the payroll tax. Well, now that's what's in the bill.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to turn around and say, no, we're not going to do that.
And the president does get credit for one-upsmanship because the payroll tax will expire. And now Republicans have always insisted that if you let a tax cut expire, that's a tax increase. Now, are they gonna be a part of that? I thought there was one great moment in the speech when he said the next election is 14 months away, and the people who sent us here, who hired us to work, they don't have the luxury of waiting 14 months. Some of them are living week to week, paycheck to paycheck, day to day. I thought that put a human face on the problem like it had not been done in the past.
It was a very good moment. I thought that was the best moment of the speech. But we should be said, they have these official numbers of how many jobs are going to be created, but people in the White House are pretty realistic about this. I think last summer or in the beginning of the summer, they were, okay, let's grind this out. Let's wait for the economy to slowly bounce back. The news of this summer really is what created this speech, the fear that we could be in a double dip. And so their hope, I don't think they have extravagant hopes that we're going to jolt the economy into prosperity. If we can stay even, given what's happening in Europe and things like that, then that'll be fine.
The politics of it again, Mark, as we said, as Ray said in the lead-in piece, the Republican leadership was conciliatory, but the people who want to be the Republican nominee for president hammered this speech. Why the difference?
Two different worlds. The Republican House members, and Eric Cantor had lunch with him and a bunch of other reporters at a luncheon hosted by the Christian Science Monitor on Thursday. He was sweetness and light. I mean, he was talking about common ground and finding a point of agreement, and that was important. Members of Congress understand, Jim, that American voters are disgusted with the Congress. They're disgusted.
82% of them.
That's right, with the rancor, with the petty partisanship, and so forth. In the past, what has been the source of consolation for individual members of Congress is voters have said, can't stand the Congress, but old Charlie, my guy, is okay, or Sally, they're okay. It's the other 534 horse thieves you got to watch out for. Well, that's changed. Now we've seen polls that actually show a majority of people willing to get everybody out of there.
Including Billy Bob.
Billy Bob, evict them all.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's that understanding that the people do want a more grown-up sense, a sense of working together, and that perception. The presidential candidates exist in a separate world. That's Republican primary voters. They agree on two things. They're against taxes and they're against Barack Obama. And that's what sustains them.
You see the division the same way?
Yeah, exactly. The presidentials are competing who can be the most anti-Obama, and which is a different thing than the House. So I agree with that. Only one thing I'd add is, we sit here every fourth Friday and we talk about the jobs numbers for that month.
Right.
And last time it was 0. Well, what happens if next month it's in the negatives, and then the month after that? I don't care where you are in the ideological spectrum. If we got 2 negatives, people are going to want to do something. And so they might as well be open now for that possibility.
Speaking of the Republicans, the Wednesday debate, what'd you think of that? And whether winners, losers? Give us your report, please, sir.
Yeah.
From your perspective.
I thought it was an excellent debate, one of the best debates I've seen in many cycles. I thought all these people did quite well, actually, pretty much. I thought Mitt Romney did the best I've ever seen him. Very forceful, knew what he was trying to do. Moments of grace when he had a chance to attack Rick Perry, and he pulled back. And so I thought that was a sign. If I were Barack Obama looking at what Mitt Romney did, time to be nervous if he gets the nomination. Rick Perry is still the favorite. I thought what was interesting about what revelatory of his character was when he was on the offense, attacking people, going after people, I thought he was quite strong. When he's on...
You mean Perry?
Perry,
yeah.
When he's on defense, when somebody's asking him, or when he has to show sort of conviviality, much less strong. And I was sort of shocked by the ineptitude of the answers on Social Security and global warming. Any mediocre staff should be able to give you a decent answer for an entirely predictable question. So I thought he showed great strengths and also some pretty good weaknesses.
What about Perry? What's your reading on
I defend
Perry?
staff. I'm sure that he was given answers that would pass David's test or anybody else's. That was the candidate's decision. He wasn't going to retreat. He wasn't going to, no excuses, no retreat, no surrender.
That's the way he's going to run, right?
That's in the book. That's what I wrote. Okay. And I think that Rick Perry did meet the question about doubts whether he could deal in this kind of a national setting. Mm-hmm. I think he showed himself to be at ease, comfortable with himself, comfortable with the setting. I think that the problem for him is that he raised questions about his electability with the answers on Social Security and global warming. Republicans, have to understand, Jim, have dealt with Social Security. In 1964, Barry Goldwater made that an issue, and he got crushed by Lyndon Johnson. But more recently, in 2005, George W. Bush, in his second term, raised the question of privatization, of private accounts even, not even privatization, private accounts of Social Security. That contributed, in the eyes of many Republicans, to their losing the Congress in 2006. I thought Mitt Romney was the best platform performance of his entire career. I mean, he showed himself to be able to take an elbow and to throw an elbow on the jobs question about Texas and Massachusetts. And I thought his defense of Social Security said, I'm the electable Republican. I'm the guy you want to go with.
Finally, what are your thoughts about 9/11 10 years later? David?
Well, I mean, everyone's talked about the scars, the wars, the costs in life and blood, and the low morale and the low position America's standing in the world. And so that's pretty obvious. I would just emphasize some of the positive things that have happened since 9/11 because of U.S. actions. Saddam is out. Gaddafi is out, not all because of U.S. actions. Taliban is out. Mubarak is out. There has been a change in the world. Al-Qaeda has been destroyed. We haven't been attacked again. And so I would say it's at least a mixed blessing. And that after 9/11, the Middle East is in a period of turmoil, could turn out bad, could turn out good, but given that that part of the world was in a decline, cultural, economic, and political, the fact that there's turmoil is potential good news. So there is an upside to all the things that have happened since 9/11.
Mark?
I disagree. I think that to use 9/11 as a justification for going to war against Saddam Hussein was indefensible then, is indefensible against war, Iraq, and a war of occupation. The United States now has 2 wars of occupation 10 years later. I think Afghanistan, you could certainly make the case after the attack of 9/11 that was necessary and required. There was a sense of national unity and solidarity and compassion that existed in this country after 9/11, which is gone. It's no longer with us. The United States standing in the world, that sense of solidarity with the United States and support for the United States after the terrible events of 9/11 has been allowed to go away. I agree with David about the Arab Spring, and I think it is encouraging. But I don't think that our going into Iraq is an instrument of it.
Well, on that note of disagreement, thank you both very much.
Thank you.